everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're so excited today to be talking about the latest group of Hailey Dean Mysteries. And I'm Rachel, and Lisa's here.
Hi, guys.
Yes. So this was a pretty strong grouping. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. And I was a little bit anxious, I guess, coming into this because I actually wasn't a big fan of the grouping last year. I thought the whole Chad Lowe plot was really disappointing because I don't know, it was just so predictable and it was so obvious, and it was supposed to like have all of this emotional resonance because it was supposed to be her, dealing with her fiance and everything. And so the fact that it was just, I don't know, I was just not a big fan. And so I was going into this being like, oh, this is my least favorite of these mysteries, shows. But I have to say I was really impressed. I think they definitely upped the writing, and particularly we'll talk about it the third episode. I was like, oh, and it really surprised me. But I don't know. What were your thoughts going into this?
I loved it. I will say that the last series that they did, where they did a 3-movie, series, yeah, it was a little predictable, and I thought I kept thinking they're going to pull something out at the 11th hour because it can't be Chad Lowe. That would be too easy. And then it turned out it was Chad Lowe. Sorry, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, it turned out to be Chad Lowe. And I was just like, okay, but I enjoyed the tie-in across the 3 movies itself, just the general idea, because it was fun to be like, okay, next week we get another one. Oh, and then the finale, I thought that was, and I did. Yeah. So I like that part of it, and I did enjoy the closure side of the, the fiance's death and that kind of thing. I did enjoy that. But for these, I will say that overall, I really liked these. I really liked how they tied them in, not with a continuating story over 3 episodes, but just one underlying thread, that kept them all together.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty clever, and I had a really good time with these.
Yeah, I thought that they were really well done. I thought they were really well obfuscated, and I thought that that the characters made sense, and I was definitely invested. I was invested in Fincher. He was sort of more of a bigger character in these 3, and I really enjoyed their dynamic together. And I guess all Hallmark movies, for the most part, are predictable. So it wasn't that it was predictable. It was just they were asking me to care so much, about this big thing, and it was just like, oh, like, don't ask me to care if it's going to be obvious and stupid. Was kind of how I felt. Yeah. But yeah, so this one I thought was just, they were just better. I thought they were just better, in my opinion. Right. So this is very exciting. So the first one, it was called Hailey Dean, Death on Duty. And the little summary that they have is Hailey aids Garland that's Fincher, in investigating the murder of his former Marine friend. With a growing list of suspects who each seem to have strong motives, Hailey uses her investigative skills as well as her uncanny ability to read people to read and follow the clues that will lead them to the killer. And when the body of a female Marine shows up in the same park where Fincher's buddy was found, the case takes a whole new turn as Hailey uncovers a conspiracy that puts her own life in danger as she pursues justice for the victims. Now, one of the things that's really ridiculous in this series is that she is supposedly a working, functioning therapist the whole time that she's doing all of this. It's ridiculous. Are we supposed to believe that she's not compensated in any way by the police department for her efforts?
Right. And the fact that she's hardly ever in her office actually providing therapy.
Yeah.
Like she coworker that has the practice with her, she's like left to do it all.
The only thing that she does in her office is about decorating.
Yeah, decorating.
There's a chair or something that needs to be fixed. It's crazy. I mean, she would need to be compensated for all of this time and effort that she's putting in.
Right.
Like, it's ridiculous, but
I, just like all of these, I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, of course, a baker is not going to really be solving crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to bakers out there that are solving crimes. I just don't know about you yet.
Like, I think the thing about this, though, is that if they did compensate her and she was actually a therapist for, like a interrogator, therapist, whatever, like they have people like that work, like, you wouldn't even need to have that suspension of disbelief, right? Like, it's so close to being like, right. Yes, that's completely valid. And so I was just kind of like, okay, I don't know. It's funny, but it's not a big deal. It was just kind of making me laugh. Like, what is she doing? But yeah, this one, the whole premise of this one with it kind of going back to Fincher's time in the military, I thought that worked really well.
I did too, because that's the first time we find out that he was in the military, no? Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, and I thought, that's interesting. I really like that background aspect of him, and I liked hearing more about him. I guess the former fiance's brother that used to be on the police force, he wasn't in any of these this time around. Maybe he's done with the series. You know how I'm talking about?
But I'm glad. I'm glad. I like Fincher. I like their chemistry together, him and Kelly.
I love that Viv and Kelly. Turn. Yeah. I love that they brought him up, and I love that they gave him actual active storylines, not just supporting.
And not just getting burritos.
Moving from one scene to another, like helping that scene along. I like that they actually gave him real storyline in it. I was very much in on that.
Yeah. And he said in the interview I did with him that's on the podcast from this week, he said that he really enjoyed it as well, because he has, great respect for the military. And so it was you could tell he was like really trying hard to portray that relationship and that dynamic well, especially like at the end when he gets pretty emotional. I thought that really worked well.
Yes.
So, so I always divide this into whenever we talk about the mysteries, I always divide them into the murder, the victims, the family fun, I call it, side plots, side things, and then the red herrings is the majority, of course. And so the family fun in this one was pretty great. It was pretty hilarious. With Jonas being asked to pose for the doctor's calendar.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was really funny.
I love that he was all concerned, like, I don't know, I mean, do I really? And I'm like, dude, have you looked at yourself? Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Jonas is dreamy, so I'm like, yeah, you'll be all right. Just smile. But that was very sweet, though. I'm sorry, that was really sweet, though, when she was like, just think of me. And he's like, oh, and then he puts on this big smile, and you're like, love it. Y'all are so cute. Yeah.
It was really cute. And the fact that he got put on the cover was hilarious. Although I think that I guess it was Dashing Doctors, is that the name, something like that?
I think it was something like that.
Yeah. But I would think you'd want him to be in like a doctor's lab coat,
like
a lab, and be like a hot doctor.
In a tuxedo. Okay, I'm sorry, Hallmark. I love you, obviously, because I'm here at 11 o'clock on a Monday night talking about your movies.
Right.
But that layout for that calendar, I was just like, I could have just a touch more design on that, but
it was pretty funny. I was just like, okay, good. We're getting closer and closer to our fireman calendar. It's good. But that was fun. And then the other thing they had was they both said I love you for the first time, which was super cute.
Yeah, it's funny with these part of the fun of the mystery is that you don't have to worry so much about the romantic side of it. I mean, it's always a nice little addition. but it's not
Mhm.
the main focus, obviously. But a little tease here and there is fun. But that was like, I guess I didn't realize I hadn't said it yet. And so when it happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I might be like super into this relationship, even though this is a murdery story.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
Yeah,
was a fun little romantic kind of plot. Because, I mean, in some of obviously Untitled Mysteries, she's married, so it's like
right.
different. But yeah, I think they have good chemistry, and so it was a nice sort of breather from the.
Yeah, because then the other ones, what is it? The Just Baked or whatever. I'm
Mhm.
Team Norman. I'm Team Dentist, and
uh,
I know. And she's
yes.
always trying to go out with, what is his name, Mike? And I'm like, go with the dentist, dude.
Hmm. So
Okay, babe.
the victim is his to start is his Marine friend Kurt.
Yes.
And so that's obviously pretty devastating. And this was somebody I think who basically like saved him at one point, and as a in the military as a Marine, and so he's very very upset. And I kind of liked the fact that in this one, Fincher is sort of forced to also be an amateur sleuth
Right.
because he can't investigate the way he wants because of the military has to do the investigation.
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. And the first immediate suspect, first red herring, is Kurt's wife Kayla,
Hmm.
because they paint a pretty convincing case that Kurt was having an affair and that she was really upset about it.
Right.
And they even have a scene where Hailey Hailey is going up to Kayla's house, and this man like attacks her at the house.
Yeah.
So you're like, what's going on here? And there's also this woman named Alicia Greystone who is uh, running this sort of MRE military food thing, and I guess Kurt was kind of in charge of getting some of those deals and purchasing and contracts or something like that.
Yeah,
And so,
I think he was in charge of making sure that everything was on the up and up, like doing checks to make sure that it was all like being done clean and proper or whatever. And then I think he found mistakes that they
yeah,
made.
yeah, and that's when also they.
Infections. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. He was like,
Oh,
he
you're right,
found some
right. Inspection.
infections.
Yeah, yeah, and they get a they get a letter in the mail that says you'll all pay for what you've done,
So
which was
dramatic.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty good. And and there's also the beginning of this whole plot with Paulina, who is played by Lauren Holly. And when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh, this Chad Lowe all over again." I was so sure, and I was like, "Ugh."
Right.
And I was really annoyed, and so I had a hard time sort of investing in her story as much as once I learned that I was wrong. We'll talk about that in the third one, but anyway, she's really upset because this client of hers that she prosecuted, I guess not a client, but she had prosecuted this man who was just this terrible man, and she ended up going for manslaughter instead of first degree and murder, and he's about to get up for parole, and she's very upset about it. This sister-in-law, because the guy killed his wife, the sister-in-law is super angry about it, and so that kind of starts here. And she wants Hailey to go and work for the district attorney's office and help. And and it was kind of funny to me when Hailey says that her life is way more calm as a therapist. I'm thinking, really? You're like held
And
up
I'm
for
like,
gunpoint all the time. Like
yeah,
what?
I'm like, honey, you're always like getting caught with like the actual murderer and
Yeah,
like in some weird. How are you calm? We're always in the
yeah.
police station.
And that was funny to me. And I'm like, I feel like Hailey at this point should own a firearm. Like,
doesn't she though? I think in the past, like in a couple of movies, she's like grabbed her gun to like go
yeah.
meet people, and I'm like, ooh, good for you, girl.
Yes, that's good. She definitely needs it. It's pretty funny. And then there's this other man who is also involved in that Kurt was also inspecting his stuff, and that
Right.
we meet. I forget his name.
He was the kitchen sink guy. That's what I called him.
Okay.
Because he would like take kitchens and ship them off everywhere. Which I was like, okay.
Yeah. And he like threatens them, and he's pretty suspect. But then they go back to Kayla being the biggest suspect because she ended up getting in this fight with this woman named Cheryl, who she thought was the one that that he was cheating on her with. And so yeah, it's this very tangled web. And there's this other guy named Martin who hated Kurt, and he said that he's the one who ended up pushing Hailey, and he says that that he's fine with the fact that Kurt is dead. Like he doesn't feel bad about that at all. And so you got quite a few of these suspects, and I think the inspection the inspector guy, the other angry guy was named Sam, I think. What's his name? I think. But I don't know. I usually am just like, I don't remember. I'm usually just like the wife, the angry one.
Yeah. I was like the kitchen guy. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Other woman named Cheryl, who had been in the fight with Kayla, she ends up coming up dead also in the same park of that Kurt was founded. Right. And so it's all very, very suspect, of course, and terrible. And then you have Hailey notices a to be destroyed on the crate of Sam's
kitchen supplies.
Yeah, kitchen supply warehouse. His warehouse. Yeah, she noticed that, and then and then we get this very tense scene between that starts out with this guy, I think it's Sam, but anyway, holds her up because he's angry that and then this lieutenant who had taken over the case and we thought was the good guy, big surprise, he was actually the bad guy. And he has been doing this all because he was making tons of profit off of these contracts, and because what was actually in the crates was tons of guns.
Yeah.
Big guns guy. And he says, we both know I'm going to kill you. And so it's pretty tense. And then, like I said, there's the scene between Fincher and this lieutenant guy that was pretty intense, that he's like, how dare you do what you did to my friend who supported me in the war. And that was I thought that Viv did a pretty good job in that scene.
Yeah, that was a really, really tense moment. Mm-hmm. And you kind of knew, I mean, it's Hallmark, so you know that he's not going to go all the way over the edge, but he really did really well. I mean, I was glued to my screen, to be honest with you. I felt a lot in that moment, and I thought it was an incredible scene.
Yeah. So the lieutenant ends up being the murderer, and we had two victims, Kurt and Cheryl. Do you think that this one was a little bit more violent than some of the other series?
I do, but I think in general this show is a little darker in tone, just in general. And so with this one, it was, guns and murder and possible affairs and like smuggling stuff. I was just like, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Because I mean, and they
was,
showed quite a few pictures of Cheryl's body with the bruises
yeah,
and the other things like that. So it was
yeah.
pretty graphic. So I I I wouldn't recommend this one to Emma, our friend, who doesn't
No,
like scary
no,
stories.
yeah,
So yeah, so this one was my least favorite of the three, but I did enjoy
really,
it. Yes. They just kept getting better to me, but I
yeah.
did enjoy it. I have it at number 16 in my
Oh,
ranking. So pretty
okay.
good.
How many crowns
Uh,
did you give it?
I would give it 3.75.
That's what I gave it.
Nice. We have so far watched 34 Hallmark movies this year, which is amazing.
But
So,
this is my second favorite.
oh wow, your second favorite
Yeah.
of the whole year?
No, of the series.
Oh, of these. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, so this is my least favorite of the three, but I did enjoy it. So
Yeah.
there we go. Yeah, I have it. I have the second Morning Show Mysteries at 15, and I have Love Under the Rainbow at 17. So
Gotcha.
there we go. Okay, so then the next one is Hailey Dean, A Prescription for Murder. And this is our little plot is Hailey aids Garland in investigating a rapidly growing string of murders at Atlanta Memorial Hospital when his girlfriend, Dr. Megan Phillips, is named a suspect in the first killing. As the list of suspects grows with each new victim's death, Hailey's keen investigative skills, her uncanny ability to read people, and her passion for justice lead her through a labyrinth of clues that eventually point to the killer. But when she gets too close to the truth, Hailey becomes the killer's next target for murder. So these are really bad summaries, but anyway, so this one, I thought this one was very well done, and I was sure this one was going to be my favorite because I thought that it did a really good job obfuscating because it was this poison in the hospital. It was I thought it was really hard to tell like who did it. There were so many possible suspects, so many like doctors and so many different things. And so I don't know, I liked that. And I love Gabrielle Miller. And I thought she was so fun. She was so
Okay, yes. Now, she to me, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I kind of figured out really early on that it was gonna be her and that she
okay.
was dating. I mean, I'm always in for Cameron Bancroft. There it is. Doesn't matter. I'm in if he's in the movie. And I kind of figured, I was like, okay, they're probably dating, and then she's probably gonna get jealous. I was like, yep. So I kind of figured that out. But she was so menacing.
Yeah, she was
and
great.
frightening. I ate all of it up. I was like, this is the villain I've been waiting for. She was so amazing. And so in terms of villains throughout this 3 series, she's by far my favorite because she just brought it. She was so great.
Should be in every Hallmark movie because I mean, if she can make this mystery and make the Wedding March 3 watchable, she's good. She's great. Yes. And plus she's in Trading Christmas, my favorite. But yeah, she was so good. And I guess I was pretty swayed by the Angel of Death thing.
Really?
Yeah, I really was. I thought I could see it being maybe not this particular guy, but I don't know. I was like, oh, okay, I can see where this is going. And then it surprised me when, I mean, I kind of wondered about her character because she definitely seemed like, but I thought, well, is she just covering up for this guy that she's dating? Because we thought they were trying to sell it as she's dating the nurse guy. And like, if I was dating somebody that had done something like that, I'd probably be a little bit shady. I'd probably be a little, but I don't know. It really, I thought was pretty clever. And and then they had this like kind of shady doctor, Dr. Chang, who was not helpful at all.
He had zero time for anything. He was like, and they died, and I have to get back to work. Like, oh, okay.
I mean,
wow.
they kind of just drop him. They don't really and then there were a lot of in that sense, the writing maybe wasn't perfect in this, that sense that there was a lot of really shady stuff happening at that hospital that they just kind of like, oh, once we knew they weren't the murderer, we're just dropping
Yeah.
them. Because you also have, so you have Dr. Chang, who was terrible. You have the pharmacist, who was like kind of shady.
Yeah.
It was like, what's this woman doing? She loses her key card. She doesn't tell anybody. So she should be in jail, probably. I mean, that's got to be a punishable crime. Like, that's not okay. And then, yeah, you have Cameron Bancroft, who's immediately suspect because he is the bad man of business, who,
Right.
you know, is the head of the CEO or whatever.
Yes.
And he got the position because of the first person who was killed. So that's shady. Because she was the head of the hospital, was the first person.
Right.
And so there was that. There's Gabriel Miller. There's this woman named,
who ends up being what? The alcoholic?
Yeah, there's this woman named Lisa, played by Joanne Newmarch from One Calls the Heart. She, that was kind of, I thought it was good. Like, she did a really good job acting it, but I'm like, whoa, this is a big deal. Like, this would be not just like a little thing. Like, it would be a big problem if she was, an addict on the job.
Right.
It's a problem. And they find her at the 12-step meeting, and she had the passcode, I guess. It was she had the key code or from the pharmacist, and so there were some problems going on there. And then this guy Brian, who we think is the boyfriend of Gabriel Miller's character, and he is basically this angel of death. You find out that he, at a previous hospital, had felt like this woman was in so much pain, and he killed her, but he felt like it was the right thing to do. And so, of course, like, he's going to be a huge suspect for these 3 new killings. I mean, I was kind of surprised that they went to 3 victims. That's a lot.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, and they lead you down that road because at the beginning they mention it. Well, how long have you worked here? Oh, just a couple of months. Where'd you come from? Well, it was my time. It was time for me to try something else, and which was a little sketch for him to say that. And then you find out, yeah, he left his job because he murdered a dude, like he murdered somebody, and now he works here. Like, it was all very, very suspect. But
yeah, it was. I thought they did a really good job with that. That was very good. And then you also have Megan, who is accused at first, because at first she's on duty, so she's one of the suspects. But then they find the third murder. They find the dioxin, which, it was really funny if you listen to the interview from Viv. He said that they had the toughest time saying that, dioxin. I guess they were just like, it was a struggle. But anyway, her fingerprints were on it, and she's like, of course my fingerprints were on it. I was, working the whole day. I was the one who found it. I didn't know what it was. But anyway, so she ends up getting under suspicion again. And of course, that's really difficult for Fincher because it's his girlfriend.
Which, I'm sorry, but it confused me. I was very lost at who she was for longer than I care to admit, because I didn't realize that they changed actresses. So,
yeah.
Because I thought, no, it's her. And I was like, wait a minute, no. And I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. I was like, wait a minute, because it had been a while, and I was like, oh, no, it's not. Yeah, that was a bad on my part. But and then here's where I got frustrated was, it's not going to be her. That they're not going to give Fincher a girlfriend who's a murderer. And so that was just kind of frustrating to me, because I was like, stop trying to lead us down this road, because we know it's not her. And I honestly got tired of hearing the word digoxin. They kept saying it over and over again. I was like, I'm so tired of hearing this word. After a while, I was like, we get it.
I can see that. I did think it was kind of interesting to see. They gave almost all of these cases Fincher like personal investment. So you got to see a little character growth from him of having
Yes.
his girlfriend being investigated and him having to be told like you can't go there, you can't be involved, like it's too. So that was pretty decent, but I know what you mean. But they had the family fun in this one was Hailey is going to meet Jonas's parents, but it actually ended up just being his dad.
Yes.
So I don't know what happened with the mom, but anyway, she meets the dad, and his dad is retiring, and he's just so not really enjoying retirement. Right. He's just super fidgety, super frustrating. And that's when we get the one scene in her office when it turns out this chair has been broken. Their like favorite chair.
The first chair that I ever bought to decorate the office.
Yeah. And that must have been some intense therapy session if you're like breaking chairs and stuff. Like what?
Yeah.
But anyway, so they meet and they have a dinner or whatever, and they meet, and then he ends up coming by her office, and she gets him to fix the chair. And it turns out he's long had this hobby of furniture making and woodworking, I guess. And so it's pretty cute because Jonas at the end, and also there's a I thought it was pretty cute. His dad basically says at the beginning, like, I didn't like my job. I never liked, and it was a means to an end. I wanted to provide for my family, so I got a job, but I never really enjoyed it. And so, and Jonas had never realized that his dad didn't like his job. And so he ends up getting this warehouse space so that his dad can make furniture and start this kind of new life. And that was cute, I thought.
I thought that was very sweet. And I love that it was John from the Aurora Tea Garden movies. It was Aida's
really?
Old,
okay.
Yeah, it was Aida's old. Well, they never got engaged because she was like, I'm not marrying him. But they were together for a long time, and I was excited to see him back in the Mysteries.
Yeah. I think I've seen him in a bunch of Hallmark stuff.
Yeah.
That was really cute and a neat kind of moment for Jonas to give back to his dad.
I agree. And the only other part I really, really thought was fun was at some point, because they don't mention the calendar at all in the episode until he goes to
the food truck.
Well, until he's in the hospital with Hailey, and they go to try and talk to the Lisa nurse character, and she's like, "Oh, are you the doctor from the calendar?"
Yeah,
like maybe. She's like, "Love you."
Was the food truck? Was that not when the girl was bugging them? That was in this one. That was in.
I think that was in the first one because that was. I think that was in the first one because that was part of the reason why Hailey got a little jealous.
Like, yeah.
I'm like, girl, listen. I would have bought every single person I ever knew or ever was my enemy a copy of that calendar and been like, oh, hey, there's my boyfriend. He's on a calendar. Yeah. Looking good.
Anyway, so then we also had a little bit more going on with Paulina's story in this one. You had the parole hearing going on, and then you had Clayton's new wife was there, and then you have the victim's sister who is very, very bitter and upset, and then you find out that he is getting parole, and so of course they're all very upset about that, and so there you go. And I thought it was a pretty effective reveal when she's going up. Of course, she should never be going places by herself at night. Like, what is she doing? But she's going into the hospital. She's going up, and she gets banged in the head, and then the killer steps on her on her phone while she's talking to 911. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you see the CEO guy that's taped up and roped up or whatever. Security is very lacking in this hospital.
Anybody can just walk in at any hour and just go to any floor and be like, "Hey, what you doing?"
No wonder people are dying right and left.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I probably will still give this one a 3.75, even though I have it ranked higher. I don't know. It's close. But I have it at number 13.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So I have it at 13. I have it just after Just Add Romance and just before Bottled with Love. So
gotcha.
Yeah. Well, so there we go.
I gave it 3.25.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't know, maybe 3.5, somewhere around there. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Okay, last one is Hailey Dean, Killer Sentence. And I was going to this with a very bad attitude. I was just like, oh, they're just going to make it. I was certain that Lauren Holly's character was going to be bad. Like there was going to be some kind of that Clayton maybe was really innocent and she'd been the one all along, or there'd been something like that, just like with the Chad Lowe arc. And I just felt like they were telegraphing that so much. And so my high regard for this one maybe partly because I had such low expectations going into it. And yeah, this one has a shorter little summary. It's just Hailey knows District Attorney Paulina is innocent of the murder of a man she once put behind bars and must do all she can to prove in the face of mounting evidence. So this one, the red herring. So what happens is this this guy Clayton Merrill. We find out he's been released, and of course Pauline is very upset about it, and we definitely get some creepy vibes from this guy. But he has this wife, and the sister-in-law is just like, I don't even want to think about him. He's awful. And he has decided to write this book. And there is this book signing at the local bookstore that Hailey runs into. And Matty Finocchio is playing the bookstore. And so she starts to read the book, and she's kind of like, I don't know, he wrote this book. A little too flowery language or whatever for this Clayton Morrow guy. And so he claims that he's standing behind his friend, that he that he was wronged, and that he got too long of a sentence or something like that in this book. And then you have this creepy neighbor of theirs that next door he says, oh, I was just going fishing. And then he also has this video of Paulina watching Clayton Morrow's house. And so that gives added suspicion on to Paulina when Clayton ends up dead. They find him. And so she has the evidence. How well did you think they did sort of mounting the evidence against Paulina?
I thought overall they did a great job in this episode, basically putting evidence against everybody.
Yeah, but it was the most, I thought, in front of her because she has the murder weapon in her car.
Right, murder weapon, and she's distracted all the time. We knew at the end of the second episode that she had been watching Clayton, so that was, a nice tie-in. We thought at the end of the second episode when the murder was revealed, that's it. And all of a sudden they do a quick cut to her staking out Clayton's house, and you're like, what? So I thought that was a great tie-in to get you prepped for the third episode. And so already you're suspicious already going into this episode because of how the second one ended. But yeah, between the distractions, the losing important case files, the Hailey trying to reach out to her and saying, let's talk about this. I'm fine. It's over. Whatever. It's done. And Paulina showing up at the murder scene when after Clayton gets murdered, basically just wanting to see him, like see his dead body, like, okay, lady, creepy. All of that. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and you find out that so they do a lot of interrogations with his new wife, and you think that, I don't know, she's pretty shady, and there's a whole scene where Paulina sees them fighting, and so you think, oh, did she have motivation? And then you find out, no, she was just upset because of her reality show.
I mean, that was amazing.
And I love how she was just like, I signed a non-disclosure. Like, I'm pretty sure if you're going to be arrested, like, it's okay to tell the authorities about your, like, non-disclosures only go so far. Like, I think that you tell your attorney, you can tell your attorney something like that. You can tell you're getting interrogated for.
Yeah, people think I murdered somebody, so I should probably let them know that I was just trying to get on a reality TV show that day.
Probably.
I think that'll be okay.
That was funny.
Plus, if the reality TV show is about your murdery husband that gets murdered and you might be the new murder suspect, I'm pretty sure that they would be excited about it. Like,
yeah, you're right, exactly. And then Amelia, the sister-in-law, she is like a gym teacher, and once Clayton gets murdered, she's happy he's gone out of their life. She hates him so much, but she misses therapy session and starts to do some kind of shady things. And then the big reveal is when there's like a charity clothes drive, and she gives the shoes, the sneakers, which evidently Paulina never wears a pair of sneakers in her life. Yeah, so evidently she's not a runner, evidently. But anyway,
scene, I'm sorry, that is the only part that got me, because I was like, ma'am, you would have checked those shoes. I'm sorry, but not just for blood, just in general. Like, if you're donating something, you do a once over to make sure there's nothing creepy on it or nothing gross on it before you give it to somebody else. I think my girl would have turned, maybe I should get a little Windex on that part.
Agreed.
Like, what?
Okay. Yeah. I think you dip them in bleach or something. Yeah, I agree with you.
Like in the dark, just, these are good. Just throw them on the pile and, blood? What? I don't know.
They also had a really weird subplot in this about Paulina's, or I should say Clayton's. They had a really weird subplot in this about Clayton's attorney named Derek.
There was a lot to unpack in this whole episode. Yeah,
it really was. That Derek had been dating Paulina, and so he had literally like fabricated evidence and like done all of this crazy stuff because he didn't want to be beaten by her, which is like crazy because she broke up with him, so he was really upset. And like, you're not only getting disbarred for something like that, like you're going to jail. Like, this
is super like, normal. Like, we broke up, and now I must defeat you by any way possible.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then they claimed that then Clayton had blackmailed Derek because he found out about the falsification of evidence or something,
which is so random. I know you're defending me and trying to keep me out of jail, but I'm gonna blackmail you for free lawyering services.
Yeah, it was bonkers, but whatever.
But I liked it.
Yeah, I know, I did too. And so then you find out that Amelia, when she finds out about the shoes, she says, "Oh, I wasn't guilty. I just really wanted this vase." Like that was crazy too. Like, I never heard of anybody having such a prized vase, and also the fact that her sister's key, her spare key, still worked for the house.
It's still just under the flower pot, just hanging out.
Like, he's been in prison for 10 years. You're telling me they have the exact same key?
Yeah.
That was crazy. It was ridiculous, but whatever. So yeah, she wants to get this vase. She goes over there and uses her spare key, goes in, and he's dead. And she doesn't call the police or tell
I don't
anybody about
understand.
it because you could just anonymously call the police.
Yep.
You could literally use the phone in the house. So I mean, there's a landline and just call and then leave.
Right.
Because she's like, oh, I was just relieved that he was gone. And so I thought he got what he deserved. Or what? I was like, what?
Man,
It was
don't ever
crazy.
get on her bad side.
She didn't even get the vase. She didn't
know.
even get the vase.
They busted it up
All of
again.
that. So, and then we should talk about before we finish it up. So the family fun in this one was really cute because first of all, you have Fincher trying to like, he says that he's doing something for his girlfriend, but he's really, asking Hailey all these questions. What kind of necklace should he get? What kind of things should he do? And she's just like, what are you doing? And then Jonas says, we need to celebrate our first date. But the problem is they both have different ideas of what their first date was. Was it the first time they talked? Was it the first time they kissed? Was it the first time? Different things going on. And so they end up not crossing paths several times. There's like 3 dates that they end up missing that were the same. And
okay, I love my husband, but I don't remember the first time we went out. That was like 20 years ago.
Right.
There's a lot of dates to remember. I remember our wedding date, and I remember when my kids were born. That's right. I'm tapped out.
Well, when you're new and in love, it's maybe different, I guess. I don't know.
I don't
know. But it turned out that Fincher was just kind of doing investigative work here for Jonas, trying to figure this all out, which was really cute. And he at the end, she ends up going, and they finally makes the date, and Jonas has all of the things they did on their various dates, and he got the the Hallmark candle.
Yes, the Hallmark approved candles.
Yeah, there was 1 million candles, and he proposes, which was super cool. And she says yes.
First of all, can I just say, in that moment, when the candles appear, the first thing I thought of was twinkle lights equals love.
Yeah.
And I went to pull out my phone just to tweet at you at Hallmarkies Pod. Oh my God, twinkle. And then as I look up, that's when I see him with the ring box. Rachel, I'm not kidding when I say I legit went, oh my God. And I threw my phone down and I was like, what? I was so freaking excited because I did not guess that was going to happen at all whatsoever. And
yeah, it was, and I was worried because unfortunately they did kind of spoil it on Home and Family that was going to happen, which was annoying. Yes, they showed that scene, but they didn't show what she said. And so I was a little worried just because she had a thing happened to her fiance or something, that they were going to drag this out and that she wasn't going to say yes. So I was relieved that she said yes, but I was still annoyed at Home and Family for showing that clip. Yeah, I'm totally serious.
Okay, it makes me sorry, Home and Family. It makes me glad I don't watch the show regularly.
Yeah, it was really pretty irritating.
That would have made me mad.
Plus, there were so many other fun parts of this one you could have shown.
They could have shown a clip when Hailey and Fincher were trying to figure out if they would think the other one had committed murder in certain circumstances. And they could have shown the scene where Hailey was like, what if all the burritos disappeared? And he said, well, then that emergency burrito burglaries. And I'm like, or desperate burrito. And I was like, yeah, they could show that.
Yeah.
Because a wedding proposal.
Yeah, exactly. And this is not the first time. Like last year, actually, I was really annoyed at how they spoiled spoiled Hailey Dean. I mean, it was way more obvious last year. But this is not the first time for one of these mysteries that they've showed a really like ridiculous clip. But so that's
Okay,
frustrating.
I'm glad that I did not see it because I had no idea. I wasn't prepared at all. Because I mean, they said "I love you," and I thought that was going to be the big couple moment of the
Yeah.
series, of the the three-parter, and I was like, okay. And so I think I had a little mini meltdown on Twitter because I couldn't stop saying, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And then all I could think about was, how Nancy Grace always comes in for those cameos? All I could think about was that she would make a great, really pushy wedding coordinator
Yeah.
if they wanted to do like any part of the wedding in another movie, or if she was the minister.
Yeah.
She
The only
married
weird
him.
part about the Nancy Grace stuff is that sometimes she is Nancy Grace. Like
Right.
she
I love it.
basically like she's the
Yeah.
hard-nosed reporter or whatever, crime reporter. And then other times she's like working at the food truck. Like what's going on in this world?
Right.
She must have like a secret twin in this
I
this
love it.
reality. That's kind of funny. But anyway, Hailey ends up passing the bookstore and she ends up seeing the gone fishing sign that she had seen in the neighbor. And the neighbor has been he's almost a victim. Like I thought he was dead at first, but then turned out he wasn't dead. He'd just been assaulted, basically.
Oh, see, I thought he was the murderer.
Well, a little while I did think he
Originally.
was the murderer, but then obviously if he's getting
Right.
attacked, and then also you have another red herring is you have this guy Alex who was the assistant DA. He's taking over Paulina's office, and he was kind of shady. Like what's going on with him? And he fires her assistant, and he kind of worked with someone to sort of frame.
He worked with Derek, the Clayton Morrell's lawyer.
Derek, yeah, and it was
like sabotage Paulina, which I thought was a nice. I mean, not a nice. I thought that was a pretty fun little side plot. Like because he was real sketch from the beginning. Because when he first shows up, Hailey is like, "Oh yeah, we came up through the ranks together. And of course, here you are, like you always said you would be." And he was just a little like arrogant about it.
Yeah,
and kind of like.
Well, and they sneak into his office. This series, especially now that I'm talking it out, I'm like, this series has a lot. Like it's still very enjoyable, but there's been a lot of people that should be in prison.
Yeah,
in this series, he should be in prison. But anyway, yeah. So that was shady. So you think, oh, did he do this just to set up Paulina? But anyway, she is there. She sees that the bookstore had the same gone fishing sign from the neighbor, and so she goes and she goes to Clayton's house, of course, alone at night. But she at least did, I think, tell Fincher, I'm going over to...
And he was like, I'm on my way. And still, she couldn't wait.
No, of course not. And so the bookstore guy, he attacks her. And turns out he was in love with Clayton's wife, who Clayton killed. And so he was finally getting his revenge on Clayton. And so there you go. And he was mad at Paulina because Paulina let him go early. And Hailey ends up hitting him over the head with the vase. And that was a pretty fun little sequence, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought in that scene when Hailey finally gets in and sees Paulina tied up and that Matty Finocchio, and I don't remember his character. I just called him the bookseller.
I just said bookstore owner.
The book guy. I thought he was incredible in that scene. He had this very panicked yet irritated, like desperation, like, no, God, you're screwing this up. I was supposed to just deal with her, and now you're here, and I loved her. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He really blew me away that scene. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
So
it was. It was really good. And I was just so surprised. I really was so surprised that it wasn't Paulina. I just thought for sure that's where they were going. And I was so ready to be irritated. But they pulled it off and it ended up being pretty fun. So I'm going to give this one 4.25 crowns. And I have it right now at number 8 in my ranking.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty high. I know. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Hallmark Movies and Mysteries is reeling you in, Rachel. They're reeling you in.
They really are. So we'll see how long it lasts. These rankings. I have it right now just below Flip That Romance and just above Love Takes Flight right now. So there we go. What will you give this one?
I gave it 4.5 because I was super excited for that proposal.
Yeah, the proposal was great. It was really good. So there we go. We did it. We talked about the 3 Hailey Dean.
Yay!
So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was really fun. And so where can people find you online, social media, and all that fun stuff?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Girl Gone Hallmark.
Great. And you can find me, Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media on Rotten Tomatoes and on iTunes and YouTube. Make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please give us your ratings and reviews. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Give us your thumbs up. And if you'd like more access to us and more exclusive content, we would love if you would become a Patreon of the channel. We have a whole Facebook group that you can become a part of where you can share your honest opinion, and we have a great time talking about everything Hallmarky and Rachel's Reviews and everything going on. So it's a lot of fun. And so I have a link down to check out the Patreon if you are able. That would be great. So thanks so much, Lisa. This was really fun. And we'll have to wait. Our next mystery is our Picture Perfect mysteries with the Pennevegas coming up. And then we have a new Mystery 101 for June. So we are also going to be having a feedback show coming up soon where we are going to answer your questions, talk about your reviews of what you liked about the shows, what you didn't like, the different guests that we have, the different things that we talk about. We would love to hear your feedback. You can send it to feedback@hallmarkiespodcast.com or message us on Twitter, or we have a phone number where you can leave a voice message if you want, and it's 1-801-855-6407. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye.